I now request Padma Vibhushan Dr. D. Nageshwar Reddy Garu to deliver ASTC Foundation lecture on gut microbiome, the science and application.
Honorable Chief Guest for this event, our Honorable Governor, Jishnudev Verma, distinguished guests on the dais, and friends. I'm extremely grateful to ASTC for giving me this honor to talk this morning on a subject which is becoming a rage all over the world. But before I start, I want to start with salutations to armed forces for the outstanding bravery, restraint, for protecting our borders. And I think I also like to acknowledge that we have amongst us Dr. Satish Reddy, who's contributed so much to our missile technology and who's been responsible for much of its happening. So I think this is a very apt occasion to have this lecture actually, because I think I feel so glad and proud to be Indian today. My topic is on gut microbiome, the science and application. I'm a gastroenterologist who deals with the gut. But till about 5 years back, I had, and not only me, my colleagues, and not only my colleagues, most of the medical profession, we have Dr. Raghunath Rao here, most of the medical profession did not know about this gut microbiome. I got into this field because of this reason. One of my friend, a pure teetotaler, was coming back from the party on New Year Day. And when he was coming back, the police in the midnight saw the alcohol content in his breath and found that he had high alcohol breath, very high alcohol breath, but he was a teetotaler. Unfortunately, police is very strict in Hyderabad. They arrested him. They took him to the police station. He rang me up saying that I'm a teetotaler. I did not take any alcohol. They're finding this. So I rang up to the DG police, who was known to me at that time, and said, look, he's a very honest person. He's a good doctor. He's saying the truth. They brought several machines to check the alcohol, and all the machines showed that his breath had alcohol. So I also had a doubt whether he's telling the truth or not. But he was a very honest person, doctor. So then I thought, why is this happening? So I went, middle of the night, I went to Google, got all the literature. And then I saw, to my fascination, there is something called auto-brewery syndrome. That is, we need not take alcohol, but our body has some bacteria. Especially in him, there's Klebsiella bacteria. And this bacteria, after you take a high carbohydrate diet, converts the carbohydrates into alcohol spontaneously. So in his body, he was producing alcohol spontaneously without actually drinking it. So I had to take all this literature to the police station and then convince them. Even then, not very convinced, but I had to convince them that is there, it is reported. And then I got very interested in this field. What is this that in our gut, there are bacteria like this, which are producing alcohol, producing so many things. For the last 5 years, as our director of CCMB, Dr. Vinod Nandukuri, done, we got very interested, and of course, CCMB is also doing a lot of work in this area. We got interested in the area of gut microbiome. And over the next 15 minutes, I'll briefly tell you, in this, there's actually, you can talk one whole day, but I think in the presence of our governor, I'd just like to briefly tell you about this science that's occurring in this area. So what is gut microbiome? Gut microbiome is that bacteria, fungi, virus, all are living in the gut, all in the gut. In fact, if you look at this, there are more cells of this bacteria in the gut than human cells. Right from the stomach down, right from the mouth actually, down into the rectal canal bacteria. And this bacteria is more down, that is less up. As you go down into the colon, it is more, millions. In fact, if you look at this, very, very important, our body has 20,000 human genes, 20,000 genes. But we have 20 million bacterial genes in the body. Only if you look at yourself, only 1% of you is human. 99% of you is microbiome. We all think we are human beings and all that. No, we are bacteria. We are totally. And this came in evolution. Again, I don't want to go into too much, but only 99% of all of you sitting here are bacteria. Only 1% is human. So how do this bacteria over a period of time constantly changes when you're born different, as your age is different, and this is very important because it contributes so much to health. So why till last 5 years we did not know about this bacteria? I think Dr. Vinay will tell you also about this, that we did not know about this bacteria because Nature has created this bacteria deep in the intestines. As soon as you take out this bacteria, it dies. So we are not able to culture the bacteria. Our microbiologists were not able to study the bacteria because it dies immediately. But new modern technology, again, as we have this also in CCMB, has established by this called, what is called in several tools, metagenomics, there is meta-transcriptomics, proteomics. All these new technologies in the last 5 years have given us the ability to study every bacteria in the body. And we now know that there are 1,000 species of bacteria in our gut, 1,000 species. And they're all constantly there, and now because of this new technology. So we established a large microbiome lab in our hospital a few years back, which was actually collaborated with Professor Barry Marshall, who was a Nobel laureate, and who actually discovered the Helicobacter pylori. Along with his help and is a constant advisor to us, we established large microbiome. And most of what I'm going to tell you in the next few minutes is the knowledge we got from that. There are several types of bacteria, as you can see in the body. There are good ones, bad ones, and constantly there's a battle. Right now, in every body of yours, in your intestines, there's a constant battle going on. Good bacteria, bad bacteria, good. So good bacteria dominates, your health is good. Bad bacteria, your health becomes bad. It's constantly dominating. And the most important thing I'd like to show you, first one, what determines our bacteria is unfortunately not us, how we are born. If you are born through vaginal delivery, if your mother has given breast milk for 6 months, and if in the first 6 months of your life, if no antibiotics were used, you have good bacteria. But if you are through cesarean delivery, and if antibiotics are used in childhood, you'll have bad bacteria. So see, very simple. And unfortunately, we can't control it. That's why now we are telling our gynecologists, pediatricians and all, kindly see that natural vaginal delivery. Don't do cesarean as far as possible. Kindly do breast milk. You know, in ancient India, breast milk used to be given for 1 year. Unfortunately, modern feed has come cutting short it. Give breast milk for as long as possible, and also don't use antibiotics in childhood. So these are very important aspects that are coming. But there are also some probiotics available which actually encourage bacteria to grow better, and these probiotics are listed here: cheese, pickles, and buttermilk, and so on. And then what is called prebiotics. These foods, if you take, you get better bacteria. And again, listed here: onions and bananas and all that. These are the foods which give rise to good bacteria. So when we give nutritional advice to our patients, we all include this prebiotic food so that they can have proper food. So what do all these good bacteria do? There's a lot of now research in this area. The good bacteria produce all these substances, butyrate, acetate, in the body. And these substances will increase the intestinal mucosal health. But more important, I'd like to see that they produce immunity. Not only in the gut, but whole body immunity is produced, increased. Similarly, it is anti-obesity, anti-heterogenicity. This is also very important. For example, just tell me, everybody says if you eat almonds, it's good for your health. Almonds are not good for your health. Almonds, when they go into the intestine, are converted by this bacteria into dopamine and epinephrine. These are good chemicals which go to our brain, activate our brain. So if you don't have good bacteria, you can eat 100 almonds every day, nothing will happen. So it's the bacteria that determine. So because if you have low thyrosin levels, low dopamine, low, you'll become very inactive and so on. So there's a big connection between the heart, the brain, and bacteria. And let me tell you this very important example, that we have found this very strange in our research, that you get patients whose vessels, cardiac vessels, are not blocked, they develop heart attack. There are other ways patients whose vessels are blocked, they don't develop heart attack. We are wondering why, the cardiologists are wondering why, and now we found the answer. It is because in our gut there's a bacteria producing a substance called TMAO. This TMAO determines whether you get a heart attack or not. So ultimately the cardiac health is important, but the bacteria that is controlling our heart. If you have good bacteria, does not produce TMAO, you don't get heart attack, in spite of your others being there. So now we are testing. All our patients coming to cardiology, we are testing TMAO to see whether that is there, additional thing is there. But the most important is autism. See, now autism is increasing. We are getting many children with autistic and no treatment. And even in the United States, there's a big debate, fight going on between Trump, anti-Trump people saying vaccines are causing autism and so on. What we have discovered is autism is caused by bad bacteria. We have done a lot of work in children now. when you take this bad bacteria from the children and give it to mice, these mice are becoming autistic. If we replace bad bacteria with good bacteria, we have now over 70 children. These children are now becoming, autism is going off, which is very difficult to control. We have to do it very early in life. Later in life is not effective, early in life. So this is again a very dramatic thing we have found, that bacteria is controlling this. And this is very, very interesting. Just see this. We found that if you take mice which don't have any germs, germ-free mice they're called, no bacteria in the body, we have special labs to actually make these mice, and give the feces of obese mice to this germ-free mice, the germ-free mice becomes obese. Conversely, if you take the lean mice and give the stool, the lean mice becomes thin. So bacteria are controlling whether you're obese or thin. Of course, depends on how much you eat calories, but ultimately it's bacteria. In fact, there is this very famous case. I was asked to actually be a part of the United States. One patient had a severe Clostridium difficile disease, and the treatment for this disease is to give fecal transplantation. So this patient underwent fecal transplantation, completely cured from the disease, totally cured. But after 3 months, she became obese. She put on weight. And then she went and found that the person who donated the stool sample to her bacteria was obese. She sued the hospital for millions of dollars and won the case. So this obesity and thinness also is determined by bacteria. And the diet is the one which makes a difference. In addition to the birth, vaginal delivery or so on, it's also the diet. And the best diet in the world is called Mediterranean diet now. So what does Mediterranean diet concern? Mediterranean diet actually has got a lot of nuts, leafy vegetables, fish, and so on. This is the typical Mediterranean diet. Unfortunately, in India, it's very difficult to take this type of, for example, virgin olive oil is used in Mediterranean diet. We cannot cook with olive oil because olive oil gets completely burnt when you try to cook it. So all these things very difficult. So what we did, we collaborated with a leading institute in Israel, the top nutritional institute in the world, and said, okay, we'll tell you the Indian diet, you make along with the same Mediterranean components Indian diet. So we produced 200 recipes, which is there in our website, of what we call Med India diet. They contain all Mediterranean. For example, for olive oil, we use rice bran oil, similar, and made Indian Mediterranean dosas and so on. We made this and we did an experiment, very interesting. We took 40 doctors, 20 doctors were given standard diet, whatever they eat, normal, everything normal activity. And 20 doctors were given this Indo-Mediterranean diet. And after 1 month, everything same. The doctors who ate the Indo-Mediterranean diet lost 3 kg weight. Their bacteria completely changed. The gut bacteria completely changed. So we feel that diet, if it's properly chosen, properly advised, the diet that the nutritionists advise is not the right diet because they don't know all this knowledge. They'll just tell you eat low calorie, don't eat sugar and so on, but that's not the right thing. There is a huge science of diet now which can change the bacteria in your gut and make you very healthy again. So what are the other diet things which is not good for our bacteria, which is bad? And look at this sugar, non-sugar sweeteners. All the people, I'm a diabetic, so I eat sweetener. That is wrong. In fact, I recommend the diabetes, eat little sugar if you want. Don't take the sweeteners. All the sweeteners have effect on bacteria, completely change the bacteria. And they're producing very bad effects. So that is the most important thing is food additives. Unfortunately, we are getting a lot of food additives. In fact, we also written to the government that they should have a ban on many of these food additives. They are producing a lot of problems. And plastics. We are all drinking plastics, cooking plastics. Plastics are producing a lot of changes. So, for example, we use emulsifiers. All our diet, ice creams, mayonnaise, all that contains emulsifiers, coloring agents, preservatives. All this make the food very attractive, but all this is causing change in bacteria. So, and even toothpaste. We have found that toothpaste contains titanium dioxide. How many of you have actually looked at your toothpaste content? When you go back today, look at the content. If it contains titanium dioxide, don't use that particular toothpaste because titanium dioxide is going into the body, changing our good bacteria into bad bacteria. Again, we did a lot of research in this area. And unfortunately, children, when they're brushing, they find the toothpaste a little sweet, they swallow this. And this titanium is going inside. So check your toothpaste whether it contains titanium because this is producing problems in terms of bacteria. And processed food. Unfortunately, even if you go to the smallest village in our country, these processed foods have come in. All these chips, burgers, all these things have come in. And processed food is the worst enemy for our bacteria. Our gut bacteria wants natural food, not processed food. And once you take processed food, the gut bacteria has changed. And that's the reason why we're advocating, sir, to the government that around the schools, you should not have these fast food places. Kindly see that like around the universities and colleges, you should not have liquor shops. Similarly, this is as bad as liquor. Around the schools, kindly take out this so that children don't have access to the chips, to all these fast foods and so on, because they are producing tremendous harm to our society. And we have done a big paper which is published recently in Lancet, where they showed that even in Indian villages, people are developing westernized disease because of these fast foods that are there. Of course, other unfortunate thing in our country is anybody can go to a medical shop, buy antibiotics and start taking. For small thing, viral fever, we take antibiotics. COVID, so much of antibiotics was used, not necessary. And these antibiotics will change the bacteria. They kill the good bacteria. The bad bacteria take over again. And of course, unfortunately, also become too sterile now after this COVID. Go on washing our hands all the time. That's not right. Some good bacteria are there in the hands all the time. We have to wash, but not go on sterilizing all the time. Even stress changes the bacteria. We have found this research. If a person is very stressful, there is some communication between the brain and bacteria. The bacteria is changing. So why we are so interested is you see the list of conditions this bad bacteria in the gut is producing: depression, dermatological disease, obesity, diabetes, cancer, infection, autism, IBD, so many diseases. It's linked to at least 20 diseases this is producing. And we now know that we can manipulate this gut microbiome to good levels so that we can change it. Now we have the knowledge. After, I think the first time in the history of human medical history that we have the knowledge to manipulate the gut microbiome into good ones. We can do it with diet, we can do it with FMT, the transplantation, prebiotics, probiotics, and so on. But there's a problem. People say, I'm eating probiotics, I should be healthy. No. Probiotics contain only one bacterial species, 2 bacterial species, 3, that's all. And if you go on taking probiotics, you populate your gut with all these small amount of species of bacteria. What gut requires is large number, diversity. Like our country has diversity in population, our gut also diversity. You require diversity. And this can be done only by actually taking gut microbiome from one person, healthy person, putting it to another diseased person. It cures many diseases. In fact, this dysbiosis of the gut bacteria can now be controlled by a new medicine, which is the gut microbiome. It used to be called fecal microbiome transplantation, but now we call it the intestinal microbiome. In fact, they're available as capsules. You can take healthy stool samples of people, put it into capsules, FMT capsules they're called, and they are used to many diseases. In fact, they are also now starting to start stool biobanks. Like you have blood bank, now you have stool banks. Stool banks will collect the stool specimens of very healthy people. You can process them by desiccation into bacteria which are very healthy and give it to adults. This is going to be the future of medicine. Very interesting. In fact, I was in Hong Kong recently, and outside I was giving a talk, and I saw Hong Kong, they have a science park which is very famous, a lot of development there. Outside there was a big board, Asian Stool Bank. So because it is resembling our institute name, I saw what and went into the bank to see what it is. When you went into the bank, the reception area is very nice. There are many, many toilets around the reception area. I was wondering why. So many toilets there. So what happens there is that all the people around that area are asked to go for stool there. The stool specimen is given to the bank. They pay the person $50 for going for the stool there. And the bank sells the stool for $250. So they're making a profit of $200. So people are happy, the bank is happy, and those who are taking this for health also happy. So it's a win-win situation. So this is another, it is believed that the new gold is not oil, the new gold is stool, because bacteria, good bacteria in that. Now these are, you can see, these are all randomized controlled trials, evidence-based to show that stool, this microbiome transplantation can cure Clostridium difficile, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, alcoholic. We have seen patients in our hospital having hepatic encephalopathy, coma because of liver problem, about to die. You give them FMT, and they recover dramatically. These are all official guidelines, recommendations from many societies, the American society, British society, all these are recommendations from them where we can use this. It is very cheap compared to drugs and it's very effective. I'll show you an example. Even a non-medical person can recognize the intestines, colon of this patient, extensive ulceration. All treatments we used, not effective. We gave FMT and completely cured within 8 weeks' time. So it can have dramatic effects and future is there. So other area where I think got a huge future in diabetes. FMT is being used in diabetes. In fact, there's one bacteria that we isolated. It's available also in Amazon. It's called Akkermansia muciniphila, particularly. If you give this bacteria to a diabetic person or those who's having insulin resistance, in this randomized study we have shown that diabetes insulin resistance goes off. These people can be controlled with very low anti-diabetic medications. And again, this is another dramatic thing and a lot of research is going on in this area. So now we say live longer, live healthier. There is a difference between lifespan and health span. An average Indian lifespan is now 73 years. Most people can live up to 73 years. But the average health span is only 63. All over the world, there's a difference of 10 years between lifespan and health span. What do you mean by health span? Health span means living healthy, doing your work yourself, doing good exercise, eating well. Having a normal, healthy life is health span. So although our lifespan is 73 years, unfortunately, health span is only 63. After that, we become weak, many people can't properly have locomotion and all those things. So now our aim is, can we make our lifespan and health span same? And we believe that microbiome has answered to this. The reason why we believe is blue zones. I don't know how many of you know about the blue zones. There are 5 blue zones in the world. In these 5 blue zones we have indicated there in Costa Rica, Loma Linda, United States, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Okinawa, and Japan. In these 5 areas, most of the people are living up to 95, 100 years. Lifespan is very high. But more importantly, their health span is equivalent to lifespan. Till the age of 90 years, 100 years, they're living very healthy. So we wanted to actually do research why this is happening. And when we analyze the bacteria, microbiome in these individuals, their microbiome is very, very healthy microbiome. They got a separate microbiome. If you can transplant that microbiome into our population, to a large extent we can create. So what we have learned in the last few years is that microbiome expands our genetic and functional capacity. It develops very early in the life. Gut microbiome is becoming very important, develops very early. And of course, I think if we can populate our children with healthy microbiome, stop fast foods, stop antibiotics, give feeding in the early childhood for a long time in mother's feed. If we can do all these natural methods, we don't have to spend much money. We can change the gut microbiome of our country individuals. And of course, it's going to be the next medicine. I know ISCT, as Nageshwar Reddy has said, that a lot of research is doing. Maybe this is another frontier of research that we should do, where we use microbiome as the treatment. In fact, in future, the treatment of we'll stop using all these antibiotics and a lot of Western medicine and get into more Indian-based, which will be a combination of a healthy diet along with these microbiomes in capsules together. This is going to be the future of treatment. It's going to many, many conditions, depression, aging, diabetes, cardiac problems, neurological problems, all are going to be treated by this. Already the science has started. I was asked to give this lecture for the Hong Kong government on what is the future in this area. So I made this cartoon where you have smart toilets. You have these smart toilets in Japan now. When Japanese, they go for urination in the smart toilet, it will tell you a level of sugar. How much is urine sugar, blood sugar, so much, be careful today. That's available. But I thought, why not we make a toilet which can be so smart, it can actually analyze your stool and immediately saying that you go to the stool, your gut microbiome analyzed, AI, artificial intelligence, last time in fact I told about, we can use artificial intelligence, completely analyze it, tell you this today, based on your stool sample, this is what you should eat, this is how much you should sleep. So I was actually giving that talk. And as I was entering into the auditorium, I found that they already had this intelligent toilet. They have manufactured already. So you go in the intelligent toilet, immediately it will tell you what is your brain power, what is your this thing, what type of diet you should use today, how much exercise you should do today. This is coming and already available, not even future. So this science is coming, is rapidly developing. Many of our advanced countries, they are doing it very quietly. United States has picked it up now. Europe is picking it up now. It's going to, but Fortunately, in India, I think we have this diversity. We have done a lot of research on what happens to for example, sir, we have done in Agartala, we have taken a lot of samples, stool samples. We have taken from Northeast. We find difference. We find that our stool samples in Northeast area is much healthier than what we have, because they're not been contaminated with so much of our local, fast foods and so on. There is a difference. So this is going to come. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a watershed movement in human biology. We have now understood what actually human being is, how we are dominated not by ourselves, not our brains, not our heart, but by a microbial kingdom that is there in us. Every one of us has this. And how we control this microbiome, how we make ourselves healthy, the new knowledge that's coming in. And the future is going to be totally different. I'm not sure if God is omnipresent, but microbes are. Everywhere we have microbes, and they are omnipresent. And I'd like to thank you for your attention, for giving me this opportunity.